Well, hey friends, thanks for clicking on this video. And in this video, I'm still working on my 62 Pocket Police. I have ordered a new set of cones from Track of the Wolf. As you saw in the previous video, the first shots, I had a little bit of issues with those caps detonating, and when I brought the gun into the shop here to clean up, I actually found 3 spent caps down in the action. One of them actually got hung up in the bottom of the spring, that the hammer spring. There we go. But before I go any further, I just kind of want to discuss the cone lengths, because the factory cone, overall length, mind you, overall length, I got 4.96 on this particular cone. Okay, that's the factory cone that came with this 62 Pocket Police by Uberti. The cone that I got from Track of the Wolf, overall length measures 4.85. You can see there's quite a bit of difference there. Now in my 62 Pocket Navy, I have Triso cones in that revolver, and the overall length of those are actually 5.03. So you can see that with the Track of the Wolf stainless steel cone, they're quite a bit shorter than even the factory Uberti cone. So that would explain part of my detonation problem. Now, before I take these apart and do any measuring on them, I will tell you that in my 62 Pocket Navy, the spring, the hammer spring, is a lot stronger than the hammer spring in my 62 Pocket Police. Okay, now we all know that when it comes to cap jams, that part of the issue is weak hammer springs. Now I'm going to take these springs out and I'm going to measure the thickness of them just to see what the difference truly is in thickness. And instead of having to buy a new hammer spring, if I need to, I'm going to make one. And as you can see, I've already drilled a hole through it. And let me get a little closer to the camera here. Hopefully you'll pick it up and you can kind of see how much spring I have in this old saw blade. Now I've already bent somewhat of a curve in it. I put this in my vise and I just kind of like bent it beyond what I thought it would need, and it maintained part of the shape. Obviously I got to go a little bit further with it, but that kind of tells me that I can work with this. And once I thin it down to the width where it would sit underneath the roller on the hammer, I should be able to bend it just that much more easier. So I'm going to get repositioned here, take these hammers, the grips off, because I want to show you something else with that 62 Pocket Police. Alright friends, I'm trying to give you the best view possible. This is my 62 Pocket Navy, and what I want to draw your attention to is look at where the bend is on that hammer spring, but also look at the hammer spring as the roller engages the spring itself, and look forward of that to underneath that hammer. You can see, I'm going to try to get around to the front of the camera. You can see that there's quite a bit of distance on the spring from where it engages the roller to where it goes up underneath the hammer. Once again, look at where the curvature is. I'm going to put my new Uberti in there, and you can see that the curvature is much higher than on the Western Arms Corps Uberti. But look at where the roller engages the spring, and as you can see, there's not much spring left underneath that roller. Now that's not a real big issue, just simply because when you go to cock it, the roller pushes down on it at that point. My concern is if I bend it up any higher, am I really going to disengage that spring? Thus, my reason for wanting to put a secondary spring on it, and I can make that secondary spring just a little bit longer. So there's a little bit more of a close-up. The receiver on the bottom is the 62 Pocket Navy, and the one on top right there is the Pocket Police. Once again, I'd like to draw your attention to where the bends are in the springs, and also how short the 62 Pocket Police is, as it's right at the end of where the roller rides compared to the 62 Pocket Navy. And I believe you can probably see for yourself right now that Pocket Navy, the spring, is much thicker. But I'm going to move everything back into the shop here and get the dial calipers out and measure them for a fact. Okay, this spring right here is the spring that is out of the 62 Pocket Police. The spring measures at the base 0.050. I move to the top and it measures 0.050. So there's no taper in this spring. And once again, if I put the two springs side by side, you can kind of see that they're bent in different places. But now here's the measurement for the spring that came out of the 62 Pocket Navy. I am at 0.078. So there again, quite a bit thicker. At the top, let's see here, at the top I am let me get in the camera for you, everything's upside down for me, 0.045. So this spring has a taper to it. Let me get right here just below the spring, the bend I mean, and get him in there. 0.074. So it does have a little bit of a taper, but it seems to be more at the top. There we go. Get this into the camera for you. You know, like I said, everything's upside down and backwards for me at this point. So, taking the spring material that I'm going to be making an overlay, I'm going to put these two together and get a total measurement and just see how thick this is going to end up being when I'm done. 0.091. So it's going to be very heavy. Probably what I'll do as I'm manufacturing, and I'll probably sand some of this down and try to get close to the numbers on the spring that's associated with my 62 Pocket Navy. And I will probably be able to get a good bend in this spring without having to heat it once I get it down close to the size of this spring. And I'm talking about the width at the top up here, okay, which is 2.59. This is the Pocket Navy, 2.17. So obviously I've got some room to play with in making this spring. So I'm going to get to work at doing that, and when I get close to installing it, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll just see where it stands at that point. Well, I decided not to use the vise because I can actually control the bends a little bit better with vice grips. I have the small pair right about where I want the bend to start, and I'm taking the larger pair and I'm just making a series of small bends. I'm not getting crazy with it, just a series, and I'm taking my time because I want this to be just about right. And as you can see, the bend is coming. And I can tell you right now, this particular spring is hell for stout. So once I get the bend that I need in it, I'm going to go ahead and install this and see if this one appears to be stronger than the factory. I'll find out when I get to that point. Well, I've got the task accomplished for as far as I'm going to go with it for now. I've actually thinned it down this way, not so much with the thickness, but just the width of it. And it's still pretty stout, cocking it back, but you know, it's either that or suffer with the cap jams, and I really don't want to do that. But as you can see, I've got good forward movement, and at this point I've got quite a bit of tension right there. So hopefully this, in conjunction with the cones, I won't have any more cap jams, but until I get it out my shooting range, I won't really know for sure. I do have a new set of cones coming from Track of the Wolf. I talked to the tech the other day, and their excuse or their reasoning why the cones were too short or shorter is because the gun was made in 2007, and the best excuse anybody could come up with is that Uberti just worked with a different set of numbers back then than they do now. I don't know that I really buy that, but I do have a new set of cones coming that are taller, but he is suggesting that I may have to do just a little bit of milling on them so that they'll actually set down inside here. The height of them is going to be okay in comparison with what I did earlier in this video, measuring the factory cones and those Triso cones. So even if they're a little bit taller, I can always mill those down. So anyhow, guys, I hope you've learned something from this. Certainly want to thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and to share this with your bestest of buds. Bye.